Welcome, everybody, to Write Better Together. I'm John Myers. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, John Myers.
Hey, what are we talking about today?
We have quite the list.
Oh, good.
And quite the guest.
Oh, we do.
We have H.H. Rune,
the amazing H.H. Rune.
author of the Find Me book series.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about the creative gift of ADHD.
Yes.
And her unique style of storytelling that she has. It's a fascinating conversation.
I knew it would be.
We are also going to have listener responses.
Yes.
H is going to give you all a call to action.
Yes.
We're going to have a Hey John Myers segment where I teach John Myers something, hopefully.
Yes.
And then we're going to have the final act where we play a silly game.
Cool. You always point out that impending holidays and, soon coming, whatever, St. Patrick's Day or whatever. Guess what today is?
Is it a holiday I didn't know?
Today is a national federal holiday.
What?
It's also the middle of sleep week. We're filming this in the middle of sleep week.
There's a sleep week?
Yeah, there really is. So make sure you get enough of that.
I mean, I think pregnancy is sleep week every week.
9 months of sleeping. Today is the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. Oh my gosh.
My goodness.
It's a federal holiday.
That makes sense because this is episode 52, right?
Correct. Close the banks. Close the schools. Everyone gather around your TVs. Oh, we're not on TV. And watch the 1-year anniversary of this show. We did not exist. Now I know this will show a week later from when we're recording it, so yeah. I don't know if I think it would have been the same, right? We were a week ahead, right? And so we were recording, and then the next week it came out. Mm-hmm. And and so first of all, wow. Second of all, I'm in this group on X, this podcaster. They're kind of a group of producers. And what's your number one achievement over the last year? They asked, coincidentally, or I don't believe in coincidence, but coincidentally on our 1 year. And we haven't missed a Tuesday. And 52 Tuesdays in a row, including Christmas Eve, including New Year's Eve. No one could believe it. Like, that never happens. Like, even professional people, there's a death in the family or something, they have to show a rerun. No one. So this hasn't aired yet until next week. So this needs to air next week. We both know how to edit now and post. So hopefully nothing happens to either one of us this week. But 52 episodes in a row, it's unheard of.
Wow. Look at us. We're very strategic about that, like recording extra so that we could, like, if we had to take a week off, we could. Recording in Florida.
Yeah.
Or, whatever we needed to do. Wow. That's amazing.
We have had over 30 guests. I have some fun facts for you.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
We have had over 30 guests. It's hard to count because, like, Bob's been on 3 times. Bob Sines. Lucy V. Hay was on twice. Dean Deal was on twice. Mm-hmm. Renee Gutteridge was on twice. Yeah. Amy McConnell was on twice. And so we've had almost 40 episodes with guests, but it's been about 30 guests. And then how do I count, like, the webinars when there's 6 people show up or whatever? And,
right.
and so it's hard to know. Do you know what our number 1 viewed episode is?
Ooh. Oh, I don't.
The number 1 viewed actual episode was with Paul Gay, our Little Rascals thing. Number 2.
Nice.
I'm not going to ask you all of them, but number 2, guess what that one is?
You really want me to guess?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Being Positive with Austin Francis.
Oh my goodness.
Number 3. I won't go farther than number 3.
Was it Charlotte Winters? Because I feel like that one got a lot.
Charlotte Winters is in the top 10,
Okay.
but that's not
Okay.
number 3.
Lucy's? We
She's in
shared
the
that one a
top
lot.
10, but not in number 3.
Well, I've guessed twice. Go ahead and.
It's one of Bob's.
Oh, of course it is.
And I believe it's the one that we did live in front of an audience, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
2 of the top 5 weren't even episodes. It was our Wes Anderson pen thing with Brian Baker and our David Lynch retrospective. Those are
Oh, that's great.
checking stick. Those 2 were our top 5. In the top 10, this is my last fact that I have. In the top 10, there are 3, depending on how you count, because Bob's episode, that first one, we kind of split it. 3 or 4 of just us with no guests.
Wow.
Look how people love us.
Sorry, I think a book just fell behind you as you said that.
We also didn't have this book a year ago that just jumped off the
speaking of achievements.
the shelf on me. Yeah.
Wow.
So, wow. Good job,
Good.
Emily Brooks.
Do some of this. Pat your back.
That book just tried to pack my back.
It did. How did you get out of your bubble?
I went to the mailbox. No, I did not. All my stories start with I either went to the mailbox or I got a haircut. Look at this. Tell me how nice it looks. Oh.
I did notice that, yes, you got a haircut.
Yeah. So I got a haircut, and from a new person and a new gentle person. And there's a takeaway from this. How many guests have we had on this show, in speaking of the last year, who've said, I like the writing part, but I don't like the marketing part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that the marketing part is a necessary evil, and it's part of the job. And so whether you like it or not, then you can't say, I like being a writer if you don't like that part, because it's part of being a writer. Just like the plumber. Now there's favorite parts of the job, and there's parts that you like and there's part you don't like. But just like the plumber that we talked about on previous episodes, if he's working for himself, he has to do marketing too. Any job where you're self-employed, you have to do the marketing or you're not going to have any customers. And so it's just part of the job. And if you don't like that part, then you go plumb for Roto-Rooter, or you go plumb for someone, a company where you don't have to do the marketing. I guess if you're a writer and you don't like that part, then you could go, you could be a content creator. You could go write ad copy. You could go, work at a radio station and be the ad copy person, right? You still get to write and get a paycheck, but
or you could just write books, put them out there, and hope people find them.
Yeah, that'll work really well. And so this girl that cut my hair, I'm going to name her Madison Holland 1380 on Instagram. Her whole little stall, there was a QR code where you could scan the QR code and you could donate to her. She is a Christian. She's a positivity influencer, I guess you want to say. And her whole stall was posters of positive lifestyle things, like those things that we say on the show. And then she was not afraid. Like, she already gets a tip, right? She got a tip from me. She wasn't afraid to ask for money, ask for followers. And it's right there. You're staring at the mirror while you're getting a haircut, right? And the posters are right there. And good for her. She had her Instagram, she had her Facebook, she had her honestly, I don't remember if it was her Cash App or her Venmo or whatever. But support her in her effort to. And I also like this. She's not becoming a hairstylist. Not that there's anything to style with mine. Like, why do people do this? Like, does anyone do my hairstyle? And who has that? Who has a bob? Anyway, so she thinks that you are more inclined to interact in the community if you feel good about how you look. So it's her job to boost your confidence about how you look, and no matter who you are. and this is not saying that, oh, it's the culture favors pretty people and to have beauty, um beauty privilege or pretty privilege. That she's saying it's for pretty privilege is for everyone, and I can help you get that by giving you this wonderful haircut that she gave me. And isn't that amazing? That's a good cause
Yeah,
to support.
that's neat.
Yeah, and the writer's the same thing. You like,
And
why be afraid of putting yourself out there, because that's part of the job.
what's interesting to me about that too is that one of the sessions that I went to at Writer Fest was about marketing outside of like the world of the internet, like marketing in person. And that's what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what a great setup that she has to be able to do things in person like that.
Yeah, it's what we do when we go to a conference. It's just,
Yeah.
if we had a booth to put commercials up for the book and the podcast in the
Yeah.
booth. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very cool. How'd you get out of
I had my first official church board meeting.
Oh, cool.
So I am now a member of the church board, which is cool. This is a first for me. But guess what the first meeting was really all about, though they never said the words?
Coffee.
It's about getting out of your bubble.
Oh, cool.
Because they never said like, oh, get out of your bubble. But a lot of the challenges that our pastor gave us was like, all right, you're a member of the board now. What does that look like when you are participating in the community and at church? And it was things like, all right, you need to take initiative to welcome people into the church. You need to take initiative into like introducing them to pastors or letting them know where they can find a life group, or all of these things. And so much of it was, you're not in the shadows anymore, or most of these people never were. That's why they were not like that's why they were elected. And then seeking more ways to connect with other people. And so this is definitely getting out of my bubble. And I told one woman there, I was like, I'm afraid to introduce myself to people at the church because I'm still new enough that I'm afraid I'm going to introduce myself to someone who's been there for 20 years. um,
Try going to a church of 2,500 people.
so like if they like maybe they just decided to sit somewhere differently today and I'm like, hey, never seen you around here before. Maybe they think I'm new, I don't know. But anyway, it's a neat opportunity and I'm excited to see where it goes.
How many people are on the board?
I didn't count, but I want to say like maybe 15 to 20.
Wow, that's a big board. I thought you were going to say that what you said. I thought of that responsibility, but it extends to Kroger. It extends to Target,
Yeah.
and well, you don't go to Target, but it extends to Kroger. And so if they see you, like I recognize, because I have a church of 2,500 people, I recognize people all the time, and I'm like, do I know that person from church, or do I know them because they work at Speedway?
I
And
run into,
that's the
we've
hard part.
talked about this, but I run into people at Kroger all the time. I ran into one of my pastors at Kroger the other day.
It's the new
it's
town square.
it's just, well, and that's part of the thing that I love about being at a local church. Because we were going to a church that was downtown and I love it. I went there my whole life up until going to this new church. But when I love being at a church that's so close, because most of us do live here, whereas the downtown church was more of a commuter church, which has a lot of really great purposes as well. And like it has lots of really wonderful opportunities being in the city. But just knowing like most of the people that I go to church with also go to the same Kroger is just, it's kind of fun. And I feel like I'm more willing to be involved in the church knowing how close it is. I don't have to drive downtown, especially during football season. um, so,
I didn't expect that reservation, but it
but
makes sense.
I am still actually part of a small group from that other church downtown, because
Oh,
I
that's
love the
cool.
people there and I've stayed connected.
They're
They're,
lifelong friends.
yeah, I mean, I went there my whole life, so it was I feel like I've never really left I just kind of transitioned to being there less.
Very cool.
Yeah. We have listener responses.
We do.
We have a new video from Misty.
Speaking of 1 year anniversary, she wasn't in. I knew her a year ago, but she wasn't part of this operation a year ago.
That's true.
Hey everyone, it's Misty with Write Better Together, and a lot of y'all recently noticed that John Myers and Emily Brooks celebrated their 50th episode. Yay! Congratulations. And at the beginning of that episode, Emily Brooks was talking about how much it helps her at times to get out of her bubble and to be around people if she's feeling low about something. And I agree with that so much that I just want to hop on real fast and say, yes, absolutely, I'm the same way. If something is knocking me down, I'm just feeling low, my tendency is going to want to be to isolate and be by myself. But if I push myself past those feelings and go somewhere where I'm around other people, it helps me, it lifts my spirits, it pulls me up enough to keep going forward a little bit longer, even if it's for just a little while, even if it's just going to the store where I talk to the cashier or the customers around me. So I wanted to encourage y'all, like I know John Myers and Emily Brooks have encouraged y'all a ton of times before in the coming week to get out of your bubble, especially if you're feeling down, get out of your environment, be around people, and comment back to us on if that helps, if that makes any difference for you. And just drop your thoughts below also. Is that something you've done in the past? Or how do you plan to do that in the coming week? Is that something that's helpful to you also? So encouraging you to get out of your bubble this week, and congrats again on the 50th episode. Write Better Together.
I think the cat was excited that he got to be on the podcast.
Yes.
You,
And by the way, that advice is true even if you are an introvert.
true.
Yep.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Guess that cat's name.
Lily.
Oh, that's a good guess, but it's a boy.
Cotton ball.
That's its name now. His name is Cinder.
Oh, that's nice.
Guess how much he weighs.
Oh no.
Then I'm done questioning you about the cat. Guess how much Misty weighs. No, I'm kidding. Guess how much the cat weighs. Double that, 24 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
That monster cat. I had a cat named String Bean that we don't have time to talk about that was 34 pounds.
We have talked about String Bean in another episode, though, so they're going to have to go dig and find which episode that is.
It's been a year. How do I know which episode String Bean was on?
All right, so before you all hear this wonderful conversation that we had with H.H. Rune, I'm going to tell you all a little bit about her. She is a writer and storyteller based in the Pacific Northwest, where the natural beauty and rainy, introspective days fuel her creativity. After turning 30, she experienced a transformative realization that she had allowed fear to shape much of her life. This awakening sparked in her a commitment to lead an extraordinary life within the space of an ordinary one. Diagnosed with ADHD in her early 50s, Rune's watchful self drew character inspiration from her interactions with others, as well as her inborn sense of humanity and social justice. Words have been a constant for Rune as she has written in some way for most of her life, often using storytelling to encourage others to pursue what lights them up. The Find Me Extraordinary Life Seeker series has been a 25-year passion project aligning with her decision to live meaningfully and reach beyond one's current self. Here's our conversation with H.H. Rune.
And we're back. Hey, I'm still John Myers from Write Better Together. Hey, look, everybody, it's still Emily Brooks. Who's this other person?
Hey, it's H.H. Rune.
Hey, H.H. Rune. Can we call you H?
Yeah, I'd love it. You can call me H squared if you want to. Kind of fun.
Well, welcome.
Thanks.
So what part of, in your beautifully colored room there with the paintings, what part of the world are you in? We've had guests from London. We've had guests from Vietnam, from Tokyo. Where are you in a vague sense?
Washington State, Pacific Northwest, U.S.
Oh. Hey, Emily, that's where Hunter is, and she just got married. She got
I
married on the
know.
8th.
Oh,
Did you
wonderful.
go
Congratulations.
H squared? Did you go to Hunter's wedding? No. You
No,
didn't crash
I
it.
didn't get the invite. Yeah.
Have you always been there?
I was born in California, but we moved when I was 5, so it's really all I know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Also
before
I've
we
great.
get
always wanted to
started,
go.
It's
I'm
real pretty
sorry.
here.
I tramped right all over.
No, you're good.
Before we get started, we're going to talk about her third book's coming out, which we'll talk about more about. But Emily and I both have her first book in the series. But we want to talk about, well, first of all, we've never had a guest on who has ADHD, and if we use the wrong language, we want you to correct us in front of. We want to model we don't want to other you. And
You did say HDHD. I just want to point that out.
okay, if I use the wrong initials, then correct us. But we don't want to other anyone with any hidden disability. It's an important topic to us. So make sure that we use the correct language. And if we don't, correct us, and so that the same thing could happen to our viewers as well. They could say something inadvertently inaccurate or whatever. Deal?
Okay. I will say that I'm not an expert.
Okay.
And I'm not a doctor, and it actually takes a lot to insult me. So I might let it slide. So yeah, depending.
You're not our first guest to say that she's not an expert, or he is not an expert on whatever the topic is, but you're an expert in your life experience and living with HD. Oh my gosh,
ADHD, yeah.
and certainly writing with it, and so I guess that's where we'll start. Look at this book, man, and we'll talk about the structure of it in the 5-book series in a second. But that's a major accomplishment for anyone, and if you get into it, tell them how every chapter is chapter 1. What the heck is going on here, H?
It's because you're in book 1.
I know. I understand that.
Oh,
But
okay.
tell them that.
So,
tell the viewers how it's structured.
So, yeah, I don't know why this book came to me, and it seems unfair if I think about it, that it would come to somebody with a brain style that is mine. But for whatever reason, I've kept track of this story for 25 years. So the wow. story initially started before my diagnosis, where I was, in my early 30s and feeling like, why don't I function like everybody else? Why can't I pick one thing to be my career? Why do I struggle with tasks or, all these different things? So I kind of joke about it in the book that I went to real estate school and my ADHD, and at the time it was ADD because this was like in the 90s. So it was that I joked about it, but I never really sought any kind of advice about it. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't say anything. It was just this hidden little thing in me that really ended up making me feel like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart. I wasn't important. There was aspects of depression that came along with this. And really, I got diagnosed only 2.5 years ago. So at 53. So then you just imagine this, unveiling of this whole different person. And I recently wrote up, I really felt the 5 stages of grief with that, because it really was this death, the death of who I could have become, and then, all of this learning about unmasking and how I had functioned, pretty well, really up until my hormone transition now, which, you know, I think can bring it on with a vengeance, I'll just say. So that is when I really started to struggle. So yeah, I for whatever reason I kept decent and good notes. I've been a journaler through my whole life, so those journals became the pages of my books. And yeah, did I answer the question?
Yes, very well. So it's a story 25 years in the making, but you were diagnosed 2.5 years ago. The one that I'm holding in my hand, I don't know, how do I refer to it as phase 1? Because each one will be then phase 2, or
Yeah, I
it's
just call them book 1, book 2, book 3.
because they're not all right, and so they're not chronologically. They're mixed chronologically with the stories inside them. They're fictionalized memoir-ish, fictionalized accounts. And how long did this one that's in my hand take you to do? Not to live, but to take you to do. Because some
Yeah,
chapters go all the way back to 2005. Was that out of your journal in 2005, or
yeah,
okay?
yeah. So the books actually are semi chronological. So my ADHD journey will be in my book 4.
Mm.
Oh,
I'm currently living my book 5. So
Oh, that's
so
neat.
it does go back. The book 1 really encompasses the time period from 2000 to 2005. And then the next book grabs on to, you know, like 2004 to 2011. So it's that, okay? And it's a brain blender of a book. I'm not going to say this is like a super easy read. I recommend reading the cheat code and taking that in so it's easier to read. But when I originally started writing this book, I was writing all 5 books together in addition to the two other typesets. So, and it was becoming gigantic. It was going to be like this thick, and everybody would have hated me. Um, and nobody would read it. And I had a consultation with another friend, an author friend of mine, and she's like, "Look, I think you need to make it into 5 books." And that was actually in 2020, or 2022. I don't remember. It's gone. So when she said that, it was like boom, and I was off to the races because I was able to pull it apart and then make it make sense for each of the 5 books. So it was actually harder to read than it is now before.
well, you do though. You help the reader. You start the book with, "This is how you need to read this book," and I want you to read it,
If
and I
people
want you
read
to
that
read it in
page,
order, if you don't mind.
yeah, I mean, if they read that page, great.
True,
But a
true.
lot of people will skip the prologue, right? We don't need to talk about that.
No, I don't.
Good, good. Got to read it.
For our listeners, because they don't have the book in their hands, can you explain what it means that it says a fiction-ish story?
Sure. So okay, there's really 3 parts of this book that are woven together throughout. And the first part, I guess I should just say, it's about a woman who wants to live a bigger life, and this crazy idea comes to her to write up her memories into 5 little traveling books. She asks people to pass them along until such time one book lands in the hands of someone she wrote about. That person would recognize themselves and bring the book back to her. So there's this idea of an adventure, right? There's no names in the book as far as who these people are. There's initials at the top of each entry. Those are accurate. So if somebody that I know that knows me read about this, they would go, "What? so I love that. So,
So I was
anybody
so
that
that
knows me.
I was going to ask that. So MH there's a real MH somewhere, and there's a real
Yeah, that
yeah.
was my grandmother, MH.
Oh, well now we know
So,
who it is.
well, she's not here anymore,
Oh,
so I know. But yeah, so the initials are real, and then there may have been some liberties that I took with the journal entries, but for the most part, those are real. And then the travels of the books themselves are completely fiction. I made them up. The people are fictional. But it gave me, I've had so much fun with this book because, it's not a standard book where you have 3 to 4 characters, in the whole thing that are all interacting with each other. This is 15, 20 characters because a person is going to get a book and then they leave it, on a bench, or, they put it on a bus, or, they give it to somebody. And so you get a snapshot into each of those people's lives, and have them understand the astronomical odds of how they would come into a book with there only being 5 in the world. So, like, think about that.
so let me show the people that are watching. So there's this log in the back that's almost like you checked it out of the library, right? So you find it on a park bench or whatever. I'm gonna put mine in the food pantry for the homeless people, and and then you initial when and the date you left it, and then it'll go on to the next person and the next person and the next person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
So I actually changed it. I did a revision since you guys
okay,
got your copy, that I just said,
Oh.
put in your name. And it's really whatever people are comfortable with.
Mhm.
I want, because I think names are more fun, if you just write your name in the back. But it's write your name, your location, and the date. And then, when people find these out in the wild, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this book has been to North Dakota,
yeah,
like, how fun. And then to add another crazy layer, if you're game, are you game?
yeah.
Okay, so there's 20 trackable versions, limited edition trackable versions out in the
Wow.
world right now.
Yeah, so
So
I was gonna ask about that. So how, like, what I didn't understand is, does the person who has a trackable version in their hand, do they know they have a trackable version?
they should know, because it has a big sticker in the front with a
Okay.
QR code that says, it's, fill out this Google form, and then we'll be able to put a dot on the map.
Ah.
So, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, we just got to go all out, right? Go crazy.
So I'm going to Chicago this weekend, and so that's where I should, like, leave mine in a rest area halfway between my undisclosed location in
Wherever you
Chicago.
want to, but write your name in it first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I love it.
That is so fun. I think it's such a creative idea, and kind of goes with, we like to say, like, no, like, writing rules apply to every single person, and it just feels like you've created a whole new thing, like a whole new genre.
I mean, I think I was thinking about this too. So, with my ADHD, I did struggle in school, like, a fair amount, and I didn't read a lot. I think I read more now. I have the temperament to sit and read, and I also listen to audiobooks. So I read more now. But I think my younger years, me not reading, was actually helpful in writing this, because if I would have just read and read and read, I would have started to really intake the constraints that I feel like so many writers have. There's so many books about the rules of writing and the rules of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, why? It's just going to manufacture the same stories over and over again. And there's people that say all the stories have already been written. And I'm like, that is not the case, man. We just got to open up our brains a little bit and push it. And I'll say that I got a lot of rejections with this book. Nobody was gonna take it as far as a traditionally published, situation. They didn't know where to put it. Where's it going to sit on the shelf? And then they're always asking for the 3 comparative titles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that killed me. I was forever like trying to make some correlation, and it's just not.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and this is not a brag. It's more like it was really annoying for me to try and find something.
Yeah.
Because it's just not there.
Yeah.
So I even had a bookstore owner. She's like read thousands of books, right? She's like, yeah, this is different. This is a different book than any book I've ever read.
So did you write a paragraph of why you can't answer it, or did you put random 3? How'd you answer the question?
I think I tried to lean into like women's topics kinds of things, or the heroine's journey, or some kind of memoir based, but it was still not like, it's not an exact match. It's just not gonna fit that. So yeah. But I tried for a long time.
Are you a people pleaser? You tried to do what they wanted you to do.
I'm learning boundaries for the first time.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. My daughters taught me about boundaries. Mom, you need some boundaries.
How old are your daughters? Unless it's a private question you don't want to answer.
No, I'm fine to answer. They're my oldest is 30 and my youngest is 26.
And so what did they think about the reason I asked the age? It would be different if they were 9 and 6. What did they think about their mom's book series?
I think they're fine about it. I think they're supportive now. I think because they lived this life with me, they got to see their mom in, hurting a lot, and not feeling okay about herself, and not prioritizing, my happiness, or they got to see a lot of that with me. So I know that, and I'm not pushing them to read them, but they're supportive of me and my dream.
Yeah. Are they creative?
Yeah, my youngest, she's writing a romance.
Oh, that's great.
She's writing a romance novel and a children's book right now.
Wow.
And and then my other daughter is a crocheting maniac. She's so good at it. Yeah.
I love it.
We haven't had a mother-daughter set of guests on. We tell her to hurry up and get those 2 books done.
Yeah, I'll let her know. That'd be fun.
And we do talk about knitting and needle arts.
Yeah,
and thread arts.
I'm a big crocheter, knitter.
Your other daughter can pop in and show us something she crocheted.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
What was it? So you were just I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You were just talking about like there's a lot of personal content in here, and I'm always curious to ask people who write about themselves, even though it's fiction-ish. What's that like as far as like the emotional journey of writing that and then sharing it with other people?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this too. For whatever reason, I don't have the feeling of shame with any of my mistakes. I see them as lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, and people have asked me, geez, like, how could you share that in that book? And I'm like, listen, like, all we can do is walk the planet and try and make it easier on other people to not feel alone in a lot of things. And we all make mistakes, but if we never say what they are, then everybody walks around thinking that everybody else is perfect and there's something wrong with them. And so I don't carry that. I don't have any regrets. People would look at this book and go, whoa, like that's an interesting choice that she made there. But it's brought me to where I am, and that's all I can say. I don't have any shame about it. As far as like, sometimes it's hard when I think back to a really traumatizing time in my life. That's why I'm excited to get book 3 out, which is coming March 31st, and then of 2025. And then book 4 is where it starts to get real good for this author. And so that'll be a nice switch to stop reliving some of the junk and move into real progress. So
Wow.
That's your nevertheless. Like,
Yeah.
book 1, book 2, book 3, nevertheless, book 4.
yeah.
And then you said your book 5 is this world that you're in right now, that
Yeah,
we're
I'm
in,
living book 5 now.
that we're part of,
Stuff
Emily.
that's going on right now will be in book 5.
How does that affect the way that you live now? Like, I feel like I would feel pressured to live a certain way or be perfect.
I mean, I guess earlier in the year I was like, well, what am I going to put for book 5? And then here comes an opportunity, and I've just flown into that opportunity. So you ask for whatever, a lesson, a challenge, something to overcome, and here it comes. So
That is so interesting, because I'm thinking we had a interview with R.J. Jacobs, who writes mysteries, but he's also a therapist, and he was talking about how him learning storytelling was helpful for him as a therapist, because he can help people think of their lives as a story with an arc. And you're like literally doing that. And to
not on
even think
purpose
about the
either.
next step as a part of the story, like, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, life is kind of like that. We have arcs, but it's not just one. We usually have a few, and it's a little bit like our heartbeat, it's up and down and up and down. That's how you know you're alive. And yeah, but I can definitely see that. And especially with him having access to people with all of these, problems, issues, challenges, whatever they are, he has the ability then to put in some helpers or fixes, or and I tried to do that too. Anything that I got value from, I put the resource in my book. So I have a list of resources in the back. So in the first book, I mentioned neurolinguistic programming, because I went through a session of that to help me with a traumatic childhood incident. And so I see it as value. People need to know about stuff in order to investigate things that might help them. So, yeah.
What was the pivot point 2.5 years ago? Because I want to say recently diagnosed, and this is actually leading up to the next thing once you answer this part. What triggered you to get the diagnosis, or what was the actual moment where Tuesday you were undiagnosed and Wednesday you're like, oh, I do have ADHD?
Yeah. So I think back in 2020, I was at a job, and I had, she was actually my boss, one of my girlfriends. She had her daughter be diagnosed with ADHD. And when you have a child that gets a diagnosis, they tend to look at the parents and go, oh, well, this is fairly hereditary. So maybe you have it too. So then she realized that she had it. And then she comes to me and she's like, and you have it.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know if I have it. And I hadn't been thinking about it. And then I did end up losing that job because of COVID, the shutdown. And thankfully now, because now I've been writing books, so I was doing something completely different before. So it started. Okay, so she said, you have it. And then I heard an Instagram video from Mel Robbins, who's a self-help woman. She's very intelligent. She's very in tune. And she got her late in life diagnosis. And the way she described her diagnosis was the child that sat in the back of the room watching, the distracted child, the one that starts to suffer with their self-esteem, all these different things. And I was like resonating. And I still left it. Okay. Still left it. And then I get on TikTok and all these videos are coming at me with people with ADHD. And I'm like, I relate to that. What have we got here? And then, so one day I picked one day and I watched TikTok, I don't know, for a couple hours. And I wrote down every symptom that somebody described that I could relate to. And I put it on a piece of paper and I went into the doctor the next day and I was like, look it. And she's like, geez. And then she gave me the test. Now this is my regular practitioner, because you hear that people have to spend years and thousands of dollars to get this diagnosis. Okay. Now, granted, I've had the same doctor for 25 years. She knows me in and out. Okay. Sorry, that was probably graphic, but she understood me. Yeah. And then to see a comprehensive list of all the stuff that I had going on. So she gave me a test, which I will say was the dumbest written test I've ever taken in my life. The way they had it like formulated, like the questions were like, whatever. So it was like, tell me how you, I know, right? Let me rewrite this thing for you. It was like, do you relate to this? And how much, like 1 through 5, right? And then it's just this ambiguous gap here. Like, put in some columns, make it like make sense. It's terrible. So I end up like making a little chicken scratch, like, I don't know, at 4.2 or whatever on the page if you measured. It's dumb. Anyway, she looks at it and she hands me a prescription. She's like, that's it. Yeah. So
the final question on the test was, if you redesign the format and structure of this test, you have ADHD.
I mean, it might have been. I don't remember.
So the reason I asked that is, let me turn this into the form of a question. We have, she has not given me permission to share this, but do you have people who, because you're so open, we have people, because we're so open about everything, our panic attacks or whatever, who share that with us. And we have a viewer who has just been diagnosed with ADHD. And does that happen? So 2 things. One, I want you to talk to her about someone who was diagnosed a week ago, right? And then 2, does that happen to you, that because you're open in 2 books now and soon to be 3 books, or it'll probably happen more after book 4, but does it happen?
No, I don't know. Like, so, okay. So all of the books that I've written so far have come out since my diagnosis. So in that process that I went through, which is, 1, forgiving myself for not getting it because I had a different brain style that isn't what I mean. I think there's a lot of people that have it, potentially like half of us. So like, I call it a brain style versus an ailment or a disability. Like, I don't even call it that, because
I like brain style.
I think it's a gift. I'll just say it, and there's a lot of other people that say it's a gift. But it takes a little while. For your friend, it'll take a little while to feel like a gift, because you start to think about all the missed opportunities, all of the things that went wrong because you didn't know this about yourself. Or even in relationships. like being with somebody who wasn't maybe good for you or that criticized you because you had this different brain style, yeah, when you understand it about yourself, you are more empowered to take very good care of yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so like my husband's really into music. We go to concerts, okay? And I have learned how to do this, okay? Because I don't love a crowd. I potentially have a little bit of autism in the mix. So I don't like crowds. I don't like loud noises. I don't like overhead lighting. There's a lot of things that go along with this, and that's part of the education. But like, I also choose not to spend time with people where I have to mask really hard to be with them. You understand what masking is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, I have people in my life, but I don't spend a ton of time with them, or I kind of get myself in gear to do that, if that makes sense. Because now I understand. And then as far as like sharing, we're magnets for each other. Now she's said it, she's got it. She's gonna start realizing that half of her friends have it too, and her parents, you know, and she's not alone. And that was the biggest thing that I got out of, you know, being on TikTok about it, was this feeling that I wasn't alone. And that in itself is a gift to get. So yeah, I mean, she could totally, you can give her my information if she wants to talk about it more. I think I have some stuff on, not really. Yeah.
Well, and you're 100% correct about that. It's a gift or yours. So preparing for this, I was watching. Well, so I'm on your website, right? And so that gets fed into the algorithm, and then I'm looking at some reviews, and then that gets fed in the algorithm, and then all of a sudden on YouTube, I have Dave Ramsey popping up and telling me that half the entrepreneurs, it's a gift that they have ADHD, and to not look at that as a negative because they're I don't want to other you. The brain of the entrepreneur operates differently and in positive aspects that gives them. You wouldn't think that these people, again, I'm othering them. I don't want to other them, but you wouldn't think that these entrepreneurs would be the courageous. You have to be courageous to be an entrepreneur, but then ADHD people sometimes are introverted, and so it's this weird cocktail, but it pushes them to succeed and to thrive.
Yeah. So like, you know, Richard Branson from
Uh-huh.
Virgin Airlines, he has ADHD as well as dyslexia. So sometimes the comorbidities,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it right, they go together. So like, yeah, he's always like, okay, well, I'll say yes and then I'll figure out how to do it later. And that's kind of a little bit our brains. We also have this crazy ability to hyperfixate on what we're interested in. Now, I am never going to hyperfixate on accounting. That's not
Yeah.
ever going to happen, ever. But I can interview you, figure out a great business for you, load you up with marketing, build you a website, and give you a logo, and you're off to the races. Like the creative part I got. It's I'm maybe othering accountants, I'm sorry, but the more mundane tasks, um it's just really painful for me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I hope I can say I medicate for that. That's all I do, medicate for myself. And medication is another whole journey for each individual person, to figure out what they want to do. So
It's so
Is it
interesting
hard?
that as y'all are describing this is the experience of maybe 5 people in my life recently. Siblings, family members, friends, like they're going through what you described of like people talking about these symptoms and then going, oh. And one of them I think he's known actually for a while that he had ADHD, but he also has dyslexia and can't spell at all. But is like an incredible entrepreneur, like a natural. So my dad wrote a book on business entrepreneurship, and he says there are different kinds of entrepreneurs, and there's a kind that is like the natural entrepreneur, where it's not like I love to knit and I dream of having a knitting store. It's looking for opportunities and things that like people already need, and your interest is in the business, like in fulfilling that need, and that is him like 100%. And he can like he's just very, very good at what he does, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because we're very attentive. Like I would go into my girlfriend's house and I would be like, look, your pictures are hanging too high. I gotta fix that. And for the most part, they let me. So that was nice. But like we can see, because we can see patterns. So you can mention this to him, but we can see patterns. We can see gaps. We can see a gap. You see a gap in service. There, you have a business.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know? And it can work. I've found myself, I've had a number of businesses, my attention, my excitement for the business doesn't last as long as what people think it should be, a lifetime with this business. You're going to have to kill me for that. The only thing I've been this interested in throughout my life has been writing. And yeah, I just needed to finally do it. So and tell him, I don't know if you can make a note, but there's a gentleman and he has recently just passed away, but there's gobs and gobs of him and his videos. His name is Kerwin Ray, Kerwin Ray. And he was expert on the ADHD / dyslexia brain, and powerful guy. I miss him already. He was just a really neat guy out of Australia.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, there's so many resources, and I just want everybody to, if I could change one thing about this whole thing, it would be to lose the judgment around it, and just have it be an understanding that it's a certain brain style. And oh my gosh, what if we started looking at kids in school like early on, and we put them into learning, segments that helped them reach their full potential. Like that's what I want, because I started in Montessori school when I was in preschool, and then I got shot into public school, which was about the tests and having a teacher talk at me all day, and no more touching anything, no more learning in this other active way. So not to say that public, that's another whole discussion we could talk about, but I think there's ways to move people into places where they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
And not to look at it as a hardship. And it takes a little while to feel that way. So I totally am with whoever is in whatever part of, their own journey about it, because it's rough for a while, for sure.
Yeah.
When you had multiple businesses, and then, like you said, I don't say you don't stick with them, but so the new one, it's time for a new one now. And you said that period is shorter than a lot of times. What was that period? Was it 1 year or was it 7 years? And then how do you know when you're done and it's time to move on?
Yeah. So I think I started my first business as an adult because I saw a gap in something that had to do with taking care of my daughters. So I was in a neighborhood and we had lots of kids. They were all the same age. They went to the same preschool. We all didn't want to run our cars to the preschool every day. So we started carpooling. And I was like, what would happen if there was a wreck and the driver couldn't speak. And then suddenly there's all these random kids in the car that don't belong to the driver. What's going to happen? So I developed a little identification kit where like they had a little thing that they wore. There was a letter in the glove box of the car. There was a sticker on the glove on the car, you know, saying this information is on board. And so it was something that it was, you know, see a need, fill a need from the movie Robots, right? So I did that. And then it was like, I don't know, a year and a half. And my youngest is like needing me and I'm spending all this time pushing this business. And it's like, I think it needs to be a business, but like, I don't really want to do it anymore. And so I stopped it. And so that one, we'll say it was a year and a half. And then I had another business, which you'll read about in book 2, but that one ultimately succumbed to the recession in 2008, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I had some help with determining when that business needed to go. And then, yeah, in 2020, I started another business doing the job that I was doing, but privately. And I'm looking to maybe stop that if I can get this book thing going. So I'm not afraid of starting a business, you know, and there's people that are just, what do they call it? Risk averse, you know, so you have to move beyond that to go for it. So, and maybe it's our brain styles that makes us like, well, let's go. I don't know. It's kind of exciting.
You've got the natural entrepreneurship thing though, for sure. And one of the things my dad, that he mentions in the book is a lot of times those people are also the ones who are more willing to start a business and then move on or sell it or, you know, let somebody else take over. Cause they're like, I don't really care about this knitting store that I for some reason keep thinking of. I don't really care about this knitting store. I just wanted to start a business. Like, not that I don't care about it, but it's not my like passion. So I'm going to go and I'm going to sell it and start this other thing and see how that goes. And
yeah,
but
definitely.
I love that idea of being willing to take risks. And I think a lot of authors have to do that as well. It is, I mean, anytime you write something, there's a little bit of, if not a risk, then at least you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
You don't know this, H, but so this episode is the 1-year anniversary of our show, and so
cool. I didn't know that either.
Well, you will, because you will have heard it on the bumper on the bookends.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Then, however, I am not risk averse. I would say Emily is, but Emily had no, like, a year and a month ago, this didn't exist, and this book didn't exist, and so there's something, I don't know. Am I rubbing off on her? No, I can't take credit for that. There's something. I'm the same way as you are, H, in that it does, like, I'll start anything. And like, if I think it's for me, sometimes I'll identify a need, and it's just not for me. I'm not interested in that. And but Emily, talk a little bit about with H with that. Like, how did you feel a year ago jumping off the diving board?
I actually like found a blog post that I wrote about it because I was talking about like uncertainty and not knowing how things were going to go and like just going for it anyway. I'm one of those people who I'm always seeking like security and like I want to know things. I always want to know things. So yeah, it's definitely more of a struggle. But then I thought, like, why not just try? It was kind of that, like, why not?
That's
You
a
never
lot.
know.
Really, what my books are is this woman, she wants to live a bigger life, and so she starts saying yes to the things that she just would have said no to.
Yeah.
And then you just start to see that your world is expanding, and then you have a few wins, and then it just gets even bigger, and that gives you some confidence. And John, I mean, maybe it's I'm guessing we're similar age. It could be that we've rounded some corners a little bit, that we are more game to try, but not always. I think there's a lot of people that are very not wanting to hit any bumps, and so they play it safe. So
We did,
yeah.
we didn't warn you ahead of time, but Emily and I are the same age on the podcast.
We always say it, we're all the same age.
Oh, okay.
Forgot to mention that in your debriefing.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
do you think that this fits, Emily? This fits in with the what's the worst that could happen, like the thing that we talked about with Lucy V. Hay and
Yeah,
a
for
couple other
sure.
guests? What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
And then did it happen? Did it happen? No.
The
Right.
worst hardly ever happens, just so you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have a quick question about, maybe not quick, I don't know, we'll see. So you said that, you can always focus on the things that you really care about. After being diagnosed, did your writing process change? Like, did you find new tools to help you write? Or was that something that was always like you could naturally focus on without medication, without extra tools?
It's been really interesting. So I have been writing this story for a really long time. So I had a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I fully dedicated myself to actually writing this, I don't write at the same time every day. I think, these are the things that I think you're gearing towards, but like, I don't write at the same time every day. I don't sit down and write a certain amount of words. I'm much more loose about it. I do have a part-time job that, demands different days at different times. So like something very regular wasn't going to work for me.
Mm.
So I leave it open. And for whatever, it's the weirdest, coolest thing that when I'm sitting down, and I've mentioned this to other people, I'm not running things. The words are shooting out through my fingers onto the keys, and I'm not in charge. And I'll go back and read it and go, huh? I didn't even know I knew that word. And there it is in a perfectly sculpted sentence. Cool. And so I can't say I have any tips about how to do it. I think getting yourself in the flow, getting yourself in a place where you are comfortable with yourself and feeling into what you're doing, being excited about the story, that's gonna help it come down. Yeah.
I'm curious because this sounds a lot like my husband when he has ADHD, recently diagnosed as well. When he is like painting, he likes to paint minis, like gaming figures.
Cool. Oh, cool.
And he can focus on that for hours. His problem is remembering to drink, to eat, to stand up and stretch.
Yeah.
Right? Do you ever experience that where it's like you're so focused that you're like, oh, I've been writing and I haven't eaten for 5 hours?
Yeah. It's so wonderful that you know that about him and that he knows that about himself, and you can help him to remember to eat and drink. And yes, because we can be so hyper fixated. And then if we get interrupted, it's thrown off.
And I've had to learn that because we both work from home.
Yeah.
And
Try not to interrupt him when he's in a groove, because it's hard to get in there. But then when you're in there, it's like, I mean, yeah, it's nuts. But I mean, you learning about it is going to be your greatest gift to your husband. You know, amongst your life together. But yeah, just the understanding of a partner or a spouse without the judgment about it, like there's something wrong with them,
Right.
is such a beautiful thing, I think. I mean, yeah, like just this morning, my husband left for work and I was like, "You didn't kiss me." And he's like, "Actually, I did." So it's like, "Oh, I forgot already." So, but we laugh about it. And that's nice, you know, to have it be jovial rather than, you know, at each other. Because that just makes it harder for everybody, I think.
Yeah. And I think having the language to talk about it helps too. Like before, not knowing what was going on is different from now when he can be like, "Hey, I I need to like focus on this right now, and those interruptions will make me have to reset, and so try not to text me or call me while
Mm-hmm.
I'm, you know, during this time." And it helps our relationship a lot because then he's not annoyed with me and I'm not like, well, why isn't he like, why is he upset with me or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing I always like to say with is I'm entertaining. I'm definitely entertaining because you go out to eat with me or whatever, I'm gonna notice, like this is one example. We went to a bar and there was like 17 televisions in the bar, right? And I'm, you know, we're eating, everybody's talking about work, whatever, and I'm like, how do you think they have? Do you think they have like 17 cable boxes in this building? Like, how are they running all these different shows? And to everybody else, it comes out of nowhere,
Yep.
right? And so I've gotten into this fun habit of when I say something that I think is random to other people, I say, "Would you like me to share how I got there?"
Yeah.
Because 100 other thoughts have already come, you know, in and out for me to get to that question that I
Yep.
wanted to share.
Oh man, that is so much like my husband. So much. Like
I'll,
it's so
I'll do
funny.
that age where I'll be like, "Do you want to guess the train of thought that got me to this thing?" And
Yes.
I think I've done that on the show. It's just like they're like this
Yes.
Yes.
this thing is separated by 6 degrees from this thing, or by 6 degrees from this thing. Um, huh?
It's
That's
fun.
great.
Do you sleep?
Sleeping is a thing. Sleeping is a thing. It's um sometimes I can crash, but sometimes I have trouble. There's too much going on in my head. Um, honestly, I think a lot of my sleep stuff has to do with where I'm at in my womany life. But I remember. Okay, so this was another little fun little nugget about ADHD people. We tend to, and I'm not saying everybody, but we tend to have these little sleep things. So from the time I was a little kid, I would do my feet like this in the bed.
My husband does
Just shuffle. I'm telling you, it's a thing. The shuffle. And my husband is like, I want it dead still and dead dark in this room. And I'm over here. Okay.
Oh,
And
it's
then we
so
also
funny.
have this thing, and it's referred to as dinosaur arms because we're be all crunched and we're like in there with those little dinosaur arms. And it's a thing. It's a
So
part of
funny.
it. It's a part of our fun entertainingness.
Do you know
So,
Stefan Pastis? He draws the comic Pearls Before Swine. Are you familiar with that at all?
no.
So when
What's his name again?
Stefan, like Steven, Stefan Pastis, Pastis, and when he sleeps, so I got to meet him a couple times. And when he sleeps, he the shoulder, like if he sleeps on his left hand side, the right hand side, the shoulder that's towards the ceiling, has to be covered with a sheet. Or if he sleeps on the other side, this shoulder has to be covered with a sheet, not because he's cold or whatever. And he's written about it, and I do the same thing. And I asked him, "Do you think that's a common thing for creatives, that they have to sleep with the exposed shoulder, the shoulder that's up to the ceiling, covered. And he's like, I don't know, that's a fascinating question. And I'm like, well, you have 50 cartoonist friends, why don't you start asking them?
Yeah.
And then you can ask them that.
Is that going to be our new question that we ask everybody who comes on?
Yeah. Do you sleep with your exposed shoulder covered?
I like to be covered into the nubbin. Like,
so the shoulder is cut. The up shoulder is covered.
Yeah, definitely covered.
Yeah.
I prefer that, but
I'll
I
stick
also
a leg
get
out
really
if
hot
I'm
at
hot.
night. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you came on the show, for these hard-hitting questions. I have a final question. I don't know if Emily does, but before I ask that, give the people a call to action.
So the call to action today is, for anybody who's listening, I want you to be a little bit more open to an opportunity that might be coming your way. And perchance say yes and then figure it out later.
Oh, yes.
That's
I
great.
like it.
That's great. So our listeners, tell us about what you say yes to. You can respond in the show notes of this episode on YouTube or on our website at writebettertogether.com/podcast. Or you can respond on social media on our Facebook page, Write Better Together Now, or Instagram or Twitter.
Cool. Do you have a final question, Emily?
You guys are so fun. Thank you for having me.
It's been so fun.
I have a final question.
Just go for it.
All right. So in the front of this book, it says, you are now a part of my story. And I have your autograph right here. Mm-hmm. You said you are now in the middle of your life right now. Emily already knows where I'm going with this. In your life right now is book 5, right? That you're living book 5. Are Emily and I going to be in your book? Ooh. Is there going to be a J, M, and an EB?
I mean, maybe.
No pressure.
Say yes. Say yes. Your call to action was to say yes to this unforeseen opportunity that was going to come along anytime. This is your opportunity to live your own call to action, H squared.
We'll see.
Putting her on the spot.
I know what we'll see. When Emily tells me we'll see, it means no, I don't want to.
I think if I'm going to write it in there, book 5 will have notes about these awesome podcasts that I've been doing, and I will mention you specifically. And put your resource in the back of my book. How about that?
Oh, that's great.
Well, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you.
Chapter 5. He asked me about my shoulder. Very weird. And we're back. Oh my goodness. I could talk to her for like 3 weeks, man.
I know. That was so great.
She said she wasn't an expert, and I almost pointed that out at the end. She was, man. Like, she knows herself. I also have noticed that recently, and I'm not saying that it's not true in the earlier episodes either. I just don't remember. But so many people are confident in their own skin, like I am, and that we've had on the show. Kirsten Modgen was, Emily Norman was, even before them. They're just the most recent ones on my mind. And then she was, and I wonder if we're attracting people that are that way, or if we're choosing people that are that way, or I wonder if Holy Spirit's sending them that way. I wonder. Because not every.
I mean,
that's
agreeing to be on a podcast in itself is, you have to have some confidence.
True.
So
true.
And I hope we make people feel comfortable. So.
I know I do. I don't know. No. Talking about whether their shoulders are covered or not.
Hey, John Myers.
Yes.
You have been asking for more bird-related facts.
More. I can't get enough.
Apparently, you run across articles and you're like, Ooh, I don't know what this is about, but I'm going to send it to Emily and see if.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't read past the headline on any of them. It might not even really be a bird. It might just be Larry Bird, a basketball player.
Well, this is going to be my question. So you sent me an article.
Yes.
And I'm going to see what you think the article's about.
Okay.
So this is the article, Lyrebird's Secret Farming Skills Uncovered in Australian Forests.
Okay. The fact that you're going to ask me what I think it's about makes me think it's not about their secret farming skills. And are you saying Lyre, like Liar, the movie that Paul Gay wrote?
Lyre, like the instrument.
Oh, Lyre birds.
Would you pronounce that differently? Am I pronouncing that wrong?
No, I know. That's
Okay.
Lyre. Like you play an instrument. That's what I would think. I would think these birds have a unique farming. I don't even know what the crop of Australia is. I would think they have a unique farming application of their bills, like that spoon bill thing you showed me, and that it applies to an Australian crop, which I don't know. I thought Australia was just like desert and marsh and coast. I didn't know there was farms there. I guess it makes sense.
And apparently potatoes as well, right?
Potatoes
from last week. So you think that the lyrebird is helping the farmers with their crops?
Isn't that what it said? The headline?
It says it has farming skills uncovered in Australian forests. All right, let me tell you about the lyrebird. First of all, I am going to share my screen so that you can see a picture of this glorious bird.
Whatever you're about to tell us, did you know this before you read the article?
No, I've never heard of this bird.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
It's kind of, for listeners, it's kind of like a black peacock.
A peacock pheasant.
Yeah. It's definitely pheasant-like, for sure.
Wow, that's an impressive bird.
It's very impressive, and in many ways. So there are very few animals, including birds, that do this, but they have discovered that these birds actually create environments to attract certain things that they eat. So in a way, like even humans weren't doing this for a long time, right? We were more like we would travel and we would hunt and gather as we went. Farming didn't come until way later, but these birds have been farming. So what they do is they kind of like rake the leaves on the bottom of the forest to create micro habitats to host and it says host and fatten its prey.
Wow.
So it's like penning these things in for its own use. Like, come on, little bugs, come in here and eat here and get fat, and then I'm going to come back and eat you.
Is it bugs or is it rodents?
It says, I'm glad you asked because I was going to. It looks like worms, centipedes, and spiders.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would try to attract some rodents if I were.
I don't think it eats rodents. But here's another thing that's really interesting. So, some scientists mimicked this. So they went into forests where there were no lyrebirds and like kind of raked the leaves in the same way, just to see what happened. And they would find equal amounts of like, oh, it actually does work. It does attract these critters. The other thing that's
Did
really
it work?
cool. Yeah, it worked. It totally worked.
I thought you were going to tell me that the humans failed where the birds succeeded.
But it proved kind of like what was going on. The other cool thing is that because they're raking the leaves, and this is like, I'm saying leaves, but just any kind of like ground litter, they're actually helping to reduce fire damage in those forests. It doesn't say it prevents fire, but it lowers the intensity of them because it's burying the leaves and the branches that usually would fuel those fires. So it actually helps the ecosystem as well.
That's amazing.
Can I tell you about another Australian bird?
That has nothing to do with this
Yeah.
one? Nothing to do with farming?
Nothing to do with farming. It's just because you sent me two articles about Australian birds.
You can tell me. I sent you two that were both Australia?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do tell.
This one's called The Only Animal That Australians Fear.
And it's a bird.
Yeah.
Oh, what's my question? You have to ask me a question.
Why are they afraid of the cassowary?
Because it makes a terrible, shrieking, bloody, curdling noise. Am I right?
No. I'm sorry. I'm trying to share the screen, but there's like it's like not letting me look at the full
So
picture.
this is two Australian birds that you know nothing about.
No, I know about the cassowary, and I'll tell you as I'm getting this image ready. We went to so there's one of these at our local zoo. And I went there years ago with my cousin, and he was little, and he kept going, "We're gonna go see the dangerous aminal." And we were like, what is he talking about? And he was like, I don't know what it's called, but it's a very dangerous aminal. And then we come upon this bird, and he goes, that's it. That's the very dangerous aminal. And you're about to find out why.
So he knew years ago that it was dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oops.
Some little 5-year-old was smarter than I am.
So this is the cassowary.
It looks, what's on its head? A horn?
The big horn.
Oh my goodness. You people that are listening in your car, go home and watch this on the TV, on the computer. Like this, you're missing out on this weird bird. It looks like it has hair, not feathers.
It looks like an evil version of that bird in the movie Up.
Yep, it kind of does.
It is one of the largest birds in the world.
Oh.
It's as tall as a person.
Ah.
And can weigh up to 140 pounds and has large dagger-like claw on each foot.
That's more than my ex weighs. TMI. I measure everyone by my ex that weighed 96 pounds.
It's related to the emu if you need, like, if you're trying to imagine this thing. It is actually a fruit eater, but they are very dangerous because they will strike at you with those claws that you probably can't see in that picture, unfortunately, because it's cut off its feet. But if you look up their feet on Google, you will see that they have these like claws. You do not want to attract their attention. You want to blend into the environment. You don't want to scream or yell, or if you've got food, put it away. Just look boring because you do not want to be attacked by one of these things.
So what did your nephew say when he saw it?
He thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh. He wasn't scared. I thought he'd be scared.
A 2001 study showed that humans giving food to cassowaries was the cause of 75% of dangerous encounters between the two species. So, like, you do not want to feed a cassowary. They just become very aggressive and will attack you. So there you go, the most dangerous aminal. But they are very cool, and they have them at the Nashville Zoo.
So this one eats fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Pheasant peacock over there. He eats bugs.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't fight over the same prey. I mean, it wouldn't be prey if it's a fruit.
Yeah.
And so they can live peaceably in the same forest.
Yeah, not really competing. But yeah.
Would the dangerous aminal try to eat? It wouldn't try to eat the pheasant.
No, I think they're just very territorial, and they want whatever you're holding. If you have food, they'll eat it.
Slim chickens. They try to get my slim chickens.
Oh, now I want slim chickens.
You know what? I think since neither one of them are meat eaters, this baby need not cry because he's crying because he didn't like his monkey outfit.
Aww.
So Neither one of those birds could mistake him for a monkey. I don't even know if there's monkeys in Australia. But if he did, he's safe. He didn't need to cry because no bird's going to eat him. He's not a fruit or a bug.
We have a video of my sister when she was like 3 years old, dressed up as Abu from Aladdin. And my dad kept asking her in the video, "What are you dressed up as? What are you dressed up as? What are you excited about?" And she just kept going, "Candy."
That's hilarious. That, speaking of previous episodes in our year-long thing, one of my favorite memories is when I said the monkey from the Lion King, and you're like, "That's a chimpanzee."
It's a baboon.
That's a baboon, not a monkey.
Yeah, people like to call chimpanzees monkeys and baboons it's like everything's a monkey. It's not true. All right, are you ready for the final act?
Am I ever?
You are playing for this plant.
I thought I was going to play for this bell that reminds you to do something.
Should I start over?
No, keep going, man.
I keep forgetting about this part.
We've been doing this for a year.
Well, then I'm consistent.
Exactly.
So if you all want to learn more about babies crying and birds, subscribe to our podcast so that you can stay updated on new episodes wherever you're listening, whether it's on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. You can also write us a review because that really helps people find us, and we really appreciate that. You can also subscribe to our newsletter to stay updated on new episodes, webinars, things like that by going to writebettertogether.com, where on the first page you can sign up, which will also give you a free sample of our book. And then you can also, if you want to support us, we have a Patreon that you can go to. Go to Patreon. I don't remember the order of things, but it's Write Better Together on Patreon. And for as little as $2 a month, you get bonus content. So if you want to support us and also get bonus content, that's where you should go.
And it gives you discounts on things.
It does, including webinars.
So
you'll be playing for this plant.
What kind of plant is that?
It's a pathos or pathos or pathos. Okay. This is a plant that John gave me when we were dating, or maybe had just gotten married, and I've just keep propagating it, so it's just living forever.
So that's not the one he gave you. The one he gave you somewhere else.
It's the leaves, so it's just like the leaves.
Right.
I'm putting in here so that they'll grow roots. They haven't grown roots yet, but eventually.
So where are the ones that?
It's in the kitchen, and I can't move it because I've got it like pinned to the wall.
Wow.
Because it's a vining plant, so the vines go up.
Pathos.
Yep. So you're going to be playing.
How sad is this plant?
No. You're going to be playing. Sorry. You're going to be playing Don't Wake the Baby.
Oh, okay.
And I've got to get it set up.
Are you going to give birth now?
Here we go. This is it. Also, y'all get to see how big I am now.
Oh, don't give birth right now, please. I got to leave. Ah, you're gone.
I'm still 9 weeks away.
Oh, okay. Whoa, my goodness. A whiteboard.
I know, I'm becoming you today.
I am not pregnant.
So we're basically playing Wheel of Fortune, but it's my version, which is Don't Wake the Baby.
Cool.
And every time you get a letter wrong, I'm going to put down something that is loud. And you have 6 loud things that you want to avoid.
No, I'm good at this game.
Okay. That might be too... I don't know. I think you'll be able to do this. You're going to guess the name, the first name, middle name, and last name of my baby.
Oh, my goodness.
Obviously, you know the last name, so...
Yeah, so that's where I'm starting, man. If you wanted to stump me, you should have not told me what these spaces were at all. And then said, oh... Like I could just had random guess 3 words.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, it's the name of the baby. Oh, this is awesome. All right. I got this, man.
All right.
Why would I do that?
So, what are you gonna guess?
And this is hard. All I win is that plant. Well, I guess a plant has meaning. Since you were dating. I am going to guess an O. You already know all the things I'm going to guess at the end. There's no O's on any of the other words. Oh, well then I thought I knew the first name.
Oh no.
Thought it was going to be Brandon Sanderson Brooks. B? Is there a B? R? So far, all these letters have been in Brandon Sanderson. S? Also in Brandon Sanderson.
Let me go ahead and, for the listeners who are not, not on YouTube, I did put an R as the second letter of the first word.
Brandon.
Have you counted the letters?
S.
S. Oh,
K.
I put an S at the end of the second letter.
K. Yeah, you shouldn't have told me this was the name. All right, so now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters on the first name, starting with R. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ending with S.
The second letter is an R.
Oh, yeah. I can see it. I just said the wrong thing. All right, I'm going to say an A, Monty. Oh.
I put an A as the first letter. And while you're thinking of
who the host of Wheel of Fortune is now, it's that Ryan Seacrest guy.
Oh yeah. And while you're thinking of the next letter, this is actually what we did to announce the name to my family. We did it with the kids.
Oh, playing the same game as a 6-year-old.
Yep.
So I got to write a song. The traveling mulberries. What's it called? What are they called?
I have no idea.
The band. The coolest band name ever.
Oh, the Wildberry Mischiefs.
The Wildberry Mischiefs. All right. E as in egg.
2 E's in the second name.
Oh my gosh. It's a boy, right?
Yep.
Is it a boy name?
Yes.
You
haven't gotten the letter wrong.
N is in Nancy.
Oh, well, I spoke too soon. Oh no, why are you ringing bells around the baby?
If you'd like to ring a bell around a baby. I as in Inky. What?
I messed up.
Oh, I want to take back my letter I messed
I completely screwed this up. That's not an E.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know why I put that. I don't know why I put that there.
This poor child, his own mom doesn't know how to spell his name.
I know, this is terrible.
Make sure he doesn't watch this episode. Is this how he's gonna learn his name when he's old enough to read? He's being homeschooled.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Put an N down by my bell so I don't say N again, please.
Oh.
I love this game. Will you have some more kids? Man. Y is in Yancey.
Why are you playing drums around the baby?
Bam, 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 bam.
You're gonna wake the baby.
Well, look at those drums. Look how talented you are. F is in Frank.
Now your cell phone is ringing around the baby.
Did you invent this don't wake noisemakers?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Oh, wait. What letter was that? F.
Oh,
We've only got three more ways to wake the baby.
This is like some creature from Lord of the Rings, isn't it? And I don't know those names.
It's a real name.
M is in monkey. It's a carrot What
it's
is it?
it's a really bad drawing of a horn.
A horn?
Yeah.
Me auga. Man, I'm doing way worse than I thought I would. I've said all the vowels, and it's just gonna be a bunch of consonants in that first name at the end. What vowel am I missing? You?
Ding ding ding.
What? T is in Tom.
Ooh. So I have added listeners, and now is ART blank U blank as the first word.
Are you sure there's not another R that you're forgetting?
Oh, I totally am.
Yeah.
I'm terrible
H
at this game.
as in Howard.
I am terrible at this
H
game.
as in Howard.
H as in Howard. Howard
If
Taylor.
I wouldn't have wasted all those N's and F's if I knew that
I'm
R
so
was there.
stupid. I'm sorry.
You're not stupid. Don't let your son's gonna watch this. Don't let him hear you calling his mom calling herself stupid. Arthur Brooks. That's good enough. Who needs to know the middle name? Are you sure there's not any of these other letters that are up there already in that middle name?
I am sure. I really am. So it's blank E blank IS.
Oh man. And that's a regular name too? No.
I can't believe I forgot about the R at the end of the name. Just that was the first letter you get, or the second letter you guessed.
Yeah, I'd have been done by. I wouldn't have wasted all. I only got one. I get two more loud noisemakers I can mess.
Yes.
D is in dog. Oh, come on. This is middle name. Middle names are important.
There's a clock going off.
Yours is Ruth or Ruby. Oh, I know. L.
Ding ding ding. First
and
letter.
W.
Correct.
I almost said W early. Arthur Lewis Brooks.
Yay.
Tell us the why each of those names.
So there's nothing really that special about it.
Do not let your child watch this show. Good Lord.
By that I mean a lot of people are like, yeah, this name was my great grandfather, and then this name was my dad's middle name or something. We really like the name Arthur. We really like the name Arthur. We like the name Lewis because of C.S. Lewis.
Oh.
But also we thought that just Arthur sounds like a very British name, and Lewis is a very British name, so it just felt like it went together.
And you will call him the whole Arthur Lewis, right?
No, just I mean Arthur? Not what?
You're not going to call him Arthur Lewis? You're going to call him Art Lou? No, you're going to call him the whole Arthur Lewis.
You mean like on a daily basis when I'm like, hey, Arthur?
Arthur, time for school.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be like, Arthur Lewis, come here.
Oh. That's
unless he's in trouble, I guess. That's how it was with my family.
So you have no more Arthurs in your family?
Nope.
So you don't have to do the John Myers thing?
He'll be the first. He'll be the first one. Well, I mean, there may be some that I don't know about. But I don't think so.
There's people who are named Arthur in your family and you don't know about them? How would that
I don't think so, but John's got a big family.
Okay. Listeners,
you
viewers,
didn't wake the baby.
I did not wake the baby. I win a plant. If you're related to Emily or Jonathan Brooks, and your name is Arthur, call in. Call in.
And we'll just pretend that we named them after you.
I think that's wonderful. Man, good job.
Good job to you.
Good job to me.
Good job to H squared.
She didn't play the game. There is an H. There is an H in there. And our condolences to Brandon Sanderson. The child was not named after you.
Oh, man.
All right.
Well,
Arthur Lewis Brooks.
Episode 52. We
couldn't have done it without you.
Couldn't have done it without you.